Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the Dunu Z-Reviews SA6 Ultra. The Dunu SA6 Ultra was a collaboration project actually between Zeos of Z-Reviews and Dunu. It comes in at $599 and it has a limited production run of 300 units. So first, let's talk about what's included in the package with the Dunu Z-Reviews SA6 Ultra. Of course, you get the IEMs themselves. Very nice assortment of ear tips, including Dunu's new SNS tips and the Dakoni bullets. I believe the Dakonis were included because these are one of Zeos's favorite ear tips. They have also included a high purity Hulk Pro mini cable as the stock cable, which of course comes with the Q-Lock termination system. That includes swappable 4.4, 2.5, and 3.5 connectors. And of course, you get this very nice blue case. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the design. As you can see, Dunu stayed true to the original design of the SA6 using the stabilized wood faceplate. However, they did change it up a little because with the OG SA6, usually both IEMs were the same color, but with the Ultra, they give you one blue and one red. Red is for the right ear, blue is for the left ear. Now, I liked the design of the OG SA6 a lot, but I love the design of the Ultra. It just looks and feels very premium. And combined with the high purity Hulk Pro mini cable, it's just absolute perfection. The Hulk Pro mini cable is probably one of my all-time favorite cables by Dunu. There's also a little tuning switch on the shell that basically gives you a slight bass boost, but we'll talk more about that later. As for comfort and isolation, they're both excellent. They conform to the shape of my ears perfectly. And also, since I'm on the subject, I personally didn't have very much luck with the supplied S&S ear tips. I just had a really tough time trying to achieve a secure seal even with the largest. So I ended up just going with my SpinFit W1s. And as for driver configuration, like the original SA6, the Ultra has 6 balanced armature drivers per side and uses a mix of Sonian and Knowles drivers. For the bass, it uses 2 custom Sonian low frequency drivers, and for the mids, it uses 2 custom Knowles mid-high drivers, and for the highs, it uses 2 custom Knowles extreme high frequency BA drivers. As for the Hulk Pro mini cable, it's made from ultra refined high purity Furukawa. I think I'm saying that right. Single crystal copper. It's very soft and lightweight, so it's very comfortable. And again, one of my favorite cables ever from Dunu. Okay, let's talk about the sound of the Dunu SA6 Ultra. The Dunu SA6 Ultra has an overall balanced sound signature and is basically tuned identical to the OG SA6 from the sub bass all the way until you get to 10K or the air region. After 10K, the SA6 Ultra has more treble presence in the 14 to 18K region. There is also a slight tuning difference between the upper mids and lower treble as well at about 4.5K and 8K. The SA6 Ultra has about 3 dBs or so less at 4.5K and about 2 dBs more at around 8K than the SA6. But again, besides those areas, it is basically identical. But before we go any further, I just want to talk a little bit about the original SA6 and my experience with it. Now, at the time, the OG SA6 was my favorite IEM at the $500 price point, and I felt even competed with many IEMs that were priced much higher. And that still holds true for me even now. In fact, not only has the OG SA6 been one of my highest recommended IEMs for personal listening, it's also been the IEM that I most recommended for live performance and stage use. And actually, my wife, who is a vocalist, uses the original SA6 on stage, and I've used them on drums as well. because they offered not only incredible performance, but also incredible fit, isolation, and comfort, which is crucial for live performances. The only minor nitpicks that I and others had was that it lacked in the air or upper treble region, which basically kind of narrowed the sound stage, and it also kind of reduced some of the detail in the treble, but that's really it. Otherwise, it was a very well-tuned and generally high-performing IEM. So now they've taken the already incredible SA6 and made it even better, and it's only $600, which is just absolutely insane. Just completely blows my mind. So the original SA6 was incredibly well tuned all the way through the entire frequency spectrum, from the bass, mid-bass, mids, upper mids, and lower treble, all the way until you get, again, to the 10K region or past 10K. And then all of a sudden it just kind of dropped off. And again, what that does is it basically slightly reduces the soundstage and causes it to lack detail in the upper treble. So Dunu, in collaboration with Zeos, and from what I understand, the Z Reviews community as well, basically recreated the SA6 and fixed all of those issues. And honestly, when I'm doing a side-by-side comparison with the original SA6, these aren't just minor improvements and fixes. These improvements are substantial and very noticeable. So not only is there a massive improvement with soundstage with the SA6 Ultra, there's also now plenty of air, and the micro detail in the treble is simply excellent. So cymbals, hi-hats have excellent sizzle and crispiness, and it also improves imaging, instrument separation, and layering. So you have a massive upgrade in technicalities as a whole. So that basically covers the treble and technicalities. Let's talk about the mids now. So like the original SA6, the Ultra has a slightly mid-forward tuning, but it's very subtle. It doesn't really push vocals or instruments forward. It places them pretty much exactly where they should be. As for detail retrieval in the mids, it's excellent. So all of the subtle nuances are present, so everything sounds as it should, very natural and detailed. Okay, now moving into the bass. As you know, the SA6 and now the SA6 Ultra has what Dunu refers to as an atmospheric immersion switch, which is located here on the back of the shell and basically is a slight bass boost. And on the original SA6, I preferred to keep it off because the tuning was just closer to my preference with it off. Also, I think it sounded a little more balanced because of the reduced treble in the SA6 and because of its more relaxed presentation. But with the SA6 Ultra, I'm actually finding myself getting more enjoyment with the switch on. And again, it's not a huge bass boost at all. It's just a little bit. It's very tastefully implemented, in my opinion. As far as slam and impact, of course, these are BA drivers, so you're not going to get the same type of impact that you would from a dynamic driver or a hybrid with a dynamic driver, but it's still more than sufficient in my opinion. They actually did a really, really good job with the implementation of these balanced armature drivers for bass. And we all know that BA drivers are better at speed than dynamics. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is the SA6 Ultra is not really a bass head IEM, but the overall quality of the bass that you get is excellent. And now lastly, I just want to quickly kind of tell you my experience with these on stage and kind of consider this as part of just adding more technicality. So this is an extension of the technicalities section of the review. Anyway, for those of you who aren't familiar with the in-ear monitor systems for live performance, basically, as a musician playing with a band on stage, it's very important to be able to hear one another, hear the vocalists, hear all the musicians, and if you're playing with a click track and backtracks like my setup, you need to be able to hear that as well. And I've talked about this before. The same attributes that you look for in an IEM for home use are basically the same things you look for in an IEM for live performance and stage use. Comfort, isolation, tuning, and technical performance. And all of these are very important, but the characteristic that I've kind of found over the years that makes the biggest difference in my onstage experience is in an IEM's technical capabilities. Again, this is just my personal experience. Once the sound engineer does the sound check and sets his gains, the first thing I do is start doing my personal mix. And with the Allen & Heath ME1, I have almost complete control over my personal mix. So not only can I adjust the levels and panning of every one of my individual drums and cymbals, I can also adjust the levels and panning of all of the individual instruments and vocalists. I also have ambient, onstage, and audience mics, and entire effects feed as well. All of that serves one purpose: to give me or any musician as clean of a mix as possible. So not only do I need to be able to hear myself, I need to be able to hear everything else that's being fed into my console, and most importantly, I need to be able to distinguish and separate all of those individual instruments and vocalists from each other. So I need an IEM that can give me all of that layering, all of that soundstage, because if an IEM has poor technicalities, it doesn't matter how good my mix is. And the original 6 does have good separation and layering, but the soundstage was kind of intimate. And the SA6 Ultra jumps up substantially, not only in separation and layering capabilities, but now the soundstage is also wider. So it kind of spreads things out a little more. Not too wide, but just right. So this bump up in technical performance from the original SA6 to the Ultra is pretty significant. And when I finally got my onstage mix all dialed in, the SA6 Ultra performed just magnificently. So you can take that and basically translate that for personal use as well. The technicalities on the SA6 are very, very good. So the bottom line is the original SA6 is awesome, but the SA6 Ultra takes everything that the OG SA6 does well and just takes it up to a whole other level. And you also get an incredible cable and the cool new red and blue mix shell design. So that concludes my review of the limited edition Dunu Z-Reviews SA6 Ultra. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Please like this video, please share this video, and please hit the subscribe button. I hope you guys have an awesome day.